Welcome to Friendship Simulator, a podcast where two Twitter friends recommend media in the hopes that the other will like it. This week we discuss Boruto, Naruto Next Generations, and why it's actually good and why it absolutely deserves its bad rap. I'm Aaron.
And I'm Leyla.
And Leyla, let's just... We watched Boruto.
We watched the ever-loving shit out of Boruto. So, I mean, let's get into it. Why did you think I would like this?
So I knew that you would probably be into it because, like, actually the reason that we're friends is because after it's a long story how we actually are friends, but basically it has to do with another podcast. They gave you a shout out once, and then I started following you, and I was like, okay, she seems cool. And then you started tweeting about Naruto, and I was like, oh my god, somebody who likes Naruto and a podcast I like, I have to be friends with her. And that's why we're friends. So I know you have at least something of a Naruto background. And then there's just, I know that you also have said in the past that you hated Boruto, and I wanted to make sure, but we were talking recently about how, like, you got one of the plot points. You had read up until the part where it looked like that Sasuke had cheated on Sakura, and I was like, oh, you haven't gotten into the meat, the real deal. So I figured you would probably like it.
Well, you revealed, you got out of me why I actually never watched the show, and it was because I saw the goatee they put on Shikamaru, and I said no.
He has a lovely soul patch. He's a 32-year-old man. He's got to try some new stuff out. Just let Shikamaru have his goatee.
Well, I did, and we got there. So, okay, so you had the burden of the summary last time, so I guess I can take the bullet.
That's right.
Boruto is a series that follows the conclusion of Naruto Shippuden by, I think, like 15 years. So it's like 15 years after the Great Ninja War. And it follows the titular character, Naruto's son, Boruto, and his fun new friends, who are mostly children of characters we have met before. And while there is, like, a pretty solid ninja school plotline, we also get into kind of what remained after Kagura and is it Kagura? I get the two mixed up all the time.
I think it's Kaguya, but it doesn't matter.
It's Kaguya. So anyway, because you're right, because that's always like the celestial moon princess. Anyway, so after what remains of Kaguya, and it's a lot of Naruto dealing with being Hokage and also a dad, and not particularly well. But that's the giant premise of the show without getting into the nitty gritty individual plot lines, because and we'll get into this a little bit later, but shockingly, in 67 episodes that I watched, not all that much happens. It takes a long time to do things, and none of them are really particularly relevant to the reasons why we love these children. Like, truly, the plot doesn't matter. So that's the plot.
Yeah, I mean, there is, like, some weird, like, interdimensional alien clone stuff, but it's ultimately not that well portrayed. And I think one of the reasons that Boruto does have a bad rap is because it basically takes all the stuff you liked about Naruto and tries to do it again, and it does it worse, generally. There's a lot of stuff, like, where they have so, like, the first guy, who's Shin Uchiha, who is, like, this weird clone of Danzo made by Orochi, or, like, who was, like, an apprentice under Orochimaru or something. Like, they basically just take, like, two of the villains from Naruto and Naruto Shippuden, and they sort of smush them together and, like, is this something? Do you like this? And the answer is, well, no. It doesn't matter at all, and it's not very compelling. And, like, even the tuning exams, which were, like, such a hugely important part of the original series, they're really good in the original series. They make them, instead of, like, a 20 episode arc, they give them, like, maybe 3 arcs for the tuning exams. It's not good, and it is not well done, unfortunately. And despite all of the ways that they put the story impedes itself, it is still an incredible way. Like, I think that Boruto is just such a piece that is such in conversation with the original series in ways that do not play out in the story, but it is absolutely worth examining because the way that they actually do try to address the legacy of Naruto is so interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, so those are some of my questions for you, in terms of how this interacts with Naruto, which is something, like you mentioned, I have a passing familiarity with my roommate and I. Back when I had a roommate, we had started watching it. We got through all of the original series. We had started Shippuden, and then we kind of fell off the boat. I've read the plot summaries of all the arcs for Shippuden, but I've never actually watched it, save for like, you know, within like the animation community. Sometimes it'll be like, oh, this sick ass fight scene, and I'm like, yeah, that's dope as hell. I still have no idea what's happening, and I hate Sasuke, so like whatever. But I think that was, I can get into my little interview questions for you, because I am really genuinely curious about this. As like, I mean, we talked about Baby's first anime having been Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh and such, but there's Baby's first anime and then there's Baby's first real anime. And was this it for you?
Oh yeah, very much so. So I mean, there is the direct line for me between Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh and Naruto, which is Shonen Jump, like the magazine. So like when I was younger, like I was super into Yu-Gi-Oh cards. And you know, Shonen Jump carried the Yu-Gi-Oh manga, which is a completely different thing from the Yu-Gi-Oh TV show. Like it is so much more violent and sexual. It's really weird. I mean that stuff, it's great if you're into Yu-Gi-Oh. I'd highly recommend it. But I was reading that, and then I mean, because Shonen Jump is a big book of comics, like I was like, well, I bought this for Yu-Gi-Oh, but I'll keep reading the stuff. I mean, that's when I think they probably still carried like Yu Yu Hakusho and stuff back in those days. But Naruto, like my first exposure to the Naruto manga was the Chunin exams arc, and I was like, I don't know what chakra is, but this is extremely violent, and I'm 13 years old, so I kind of love it. And that's from there. That is where I started getting into Naruto more. You know, getting on the internet and watching AMVs and such. So
then I'm going to modify my question from the outline. And so who was your favorite character from Naruto?
From Naruto? I mean,
yeah,
my favorite character of all time is Rock Lee, for obvious reasons. Rock Lee's great, and I love the idea that someone can work really, really hard and still be great. I mean, that Gaara fight scene is in my opinion the best anime fight of all time.
Agreed.
And, yeah, but if we do want to address the question that was in the outline, I think the character that I wanted to relate to in Boruto is actually Boruto, at least right now. Not so much when I was younger, but I think that is one of the reasons why this show spoke to me so deeply, is because of the ways that it treats like legacies and fatherhood, and like the deep relationship that I have with this series, which is that like it carried me through the rough years of middle school, and gave me like something to kind of look forward to and latch onto, and unfortunately to some degree build a personality around, which that'll happen in middle school, right? The way that Boruto is in conversation with Naruto, the way that it is, I mean, intensely like self-referential. That's why I know you wanted to, you're asking in the outline, like, is it possible to watch Boruto without a working familiarity with Naruto? Like, I don't really think so, because it is so heavily dependent on you kind of getting the background of the world already. Like, I mean, they do. There's a couple like scenes where like, okay, this is what chakra is, this is how the worlds are played out, like, but there's so many like little references to like old characters or things that happened, or like the Great Ninja War. Like, that doesn't mean anything unless you watched like 600 episodes of Shippuden, and like that is why it's a difficult show to get into, and that's why I think its audience is not really for new people. I think this show came out in what, 2017. That's right around the time that we saw a big like push for dadification in media. Like, I don't know if you remember, in 2018, like basically every video game had like a big dad character in it. I think this is sort of a part of that, where like we're getting people who are older now that are in media spaces, and they can like sort of look back at these media properties and be like, this is my child. And I think Boruto is that. At least for me, it definitely is.
Yeah, I can see that. I think in defense of, I guess, Boruto and its audience, you brought up something, that an angle that I hadn't really looked at, where you mentioned that, yeah, like, we have no idea what's happening. If you haven't watched Naruto, you have no idea what's happening in the Great Ninja War or with chakra or whatever. I think the clever thing Boruto does with that is the kids don't give a shit either.
That's exactly. That's why it rules, because they're like, oh yeah, all this stuff is super important. Yeah, I don't actually care though, Dad.
Yeah, Dad, that was like, Boruto has no idea what his dad is capable of until episode 66. Like, it's the most troubling thing when you're watching, and I know vaguely what Naruto is capable of as somebody who hadn't really watched the original, but not to the extent that he had gotten to with QB. And just watching Boruto watch his dad light up and just go, holy shit, was the most cathartic thing in the world, because I was right there with that little boy. I was like, oh my god, this is what Naruto can do now.
Yeah, like there's that part where Sasuke's like, Naruto can make 1,000 shadow clones, right? And you can make 4? What are you doing, kid?
Right, he's like, you can't even do the Rasengan. He can do the Rasengan. He can do it. He was like 12. What is happening? Who are you? Like, it's just... You're fucking nothing, kid. Because in terms of old things being kind of vague to either new audiences or to the kids, because it's been 15 years, we also have this weird, fun new angle that's like a strange emphasis on technology, and I'm wondering how you feel about that as part of this new narrative.
I think the emphasis on technology works really well because of the way that Boruto is. I mean, it is, a continuation of the Naruto narrative. The whole series. I mean, the opening scene of Boruto, which I don't have any context for. I haven't seen beyond episode like 70 in Boruto. Like Boruto, an older Boruto, is fighting with some dude, and like, but the opening line is like, the age of the shinobi is over. Like, the entire series is set up to be like, hey, this is the future, this is what progress looks like, and it's sort of almost like a Last Samurai sort of deal. Like, oh, what happens when technology encroaches on a traditional way of life that had one day it was like just completely wiped out by this new thing. That's where we get the the scientific ninja tool, right? That thing where it makes things so much easier to do ninja shit, basically. Right, I think this emphasis on technology, it makes sense for what Boruto is trying to go for. Like just in the ways that like the whole series is talking about the future and what has changed since the 10-15 years since the Great Ninja War. I mean, there's even a part where like they're showing a scene from Naruto becoming the 7th Hokage, and Shikamaru is like all mad because he can't like smoke outdoors, which is like apparently like a new thing, like a new law. They're like, hey, you can't do that. And I mean, there's Denki, who his whole thing is being like a tech ninja. Like, he's not very good at ninjutsu, but like he has this little shitty laptop and he's like hacking into cameras and shit. So I do kind of like that technology emphasis.
I love Denki so much. Just the mention of Denki's name like lights up my heart.
He kind of rules. Dweeb. He's a shitty little rich kid, but he kind of owns also.
Oh my god, he owns so hard. I think I didn't hate it, but it did make me feel strange, because I think shonen, and we talked about the genre a little bit last time, but shonen as a genre, and I think Dragon Ball Z is like the best example of this, does a lot of what I'm gonna coin the term, I don't know if it exists already, but I'm coining it right now. I'm gonna coin it vertical expansion. So you have like season 1, you have the base powers, and then when we need to have 400 episodes of something and we need to give the main characters additional powers, Goku's hair gets longer, and we're kind of within the rule set of what we can already do, but we're just going up in extremeness. I feel like Boruto does a lot of horizontal expansion where it takes the things you can do, but by the end of Shippuden, Naruto got so powerful, there's really nowhere to go upwards in a way that makes sense. So you have to go to the side and then up. So you have to add this new element and then start upgrading this element. And that's fine, but to me, it just gets a little bit exhausting. But me as a person, I like tighter narratives. I like shorter stories. So that's probably why I couldn't finish Naruto. Like, it was just too much for me to keep up with over such a long time.
That's completely fair, yeah.
Yeah, 52 episodes is kind of where I peak, and that's like Brotherhood. Yep. So, you know, for me, it got a little tiresome, and the whole arc with the scientific ninja tool, when I knew he was going to get caught, because you know he's going to get caught using this tool in the Chunin exams, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I hate this tension so much. Like, he is making the worst possible choice, and I completely understand why he's making it, but it's making me viscerally uncomfortable. So it's
like,
just...
that shit is so good, though. Like, the whole previous, like, 50 episodes were dog shit, and then they introduced this one mechanic, and it's like, oh, I can see this coming a mile away, and it's, like, so brutal, because you're like, Boruto, what are you doing? You're doing everything wrong. Oh my god, stop. And, like, you see the train wreck happening, and I'm just so astonished that, like, the show that has such a boring ass story can create moments of, like, tension or, like, you know, excellent character building. Like, that stuff rules so hard.
That are so visceral. Like, it's great character building. Like, narratively, the payoff was so good. There's something about Naruto standing there in front of all the other Kage, in front of all these people, having to out his son as a cheater. Oh my god, like, it was so much. And I felt for that little boy so viscerally. Like, I completely understood where he was coming from. But I just, like, physically, the sensation of it made me ill. It was so good.
Yeah, no, it's because it's
this
brutal,
coming. I
right?
understand what's about to happen, but holy shit.
Yeah, no, it's just...
You're rooting for him.
Yeah, no, because Boruto's great, and, like, I'm 100% on his side, right? Because when Naruto's like, why are you a cheater? Boruto's like, I wouldn't have been in this situation if you came home, like, once a week, dude. Like, you feel so bad for this kid, and you completely understand... why he did use that scientific ninja tool to, like, help himself in the Chunin exams. Like, because, like, I mean, what else his whole character motivation is, despite the fact that he doesn't want to, he's like, oh, I don't want to be Hokage like Naruto. My old man's nothing. But he is just so deeply, you know, concerned about what his father thinks of him. And that's where I did tell you briefly, you know, over Twitter DMs, like, this show is, like, you know, a reflection of masculinity, and upon review, I don't think that's 100% true, but there is definitely a reflection on fatherhood and parenting, and that's the shit, like, that shit where Naruto realizes, like, his whole ninja way, his dream for, like, years to become the Hokage is also the reason that he is a shitty dad, and that rules so hard. I can't believe that they pulled it off.
I know, yeah, I can't believe that they pulled it off as really just the mood of the entire show, because there's some moments, because, I mean, like we mentioned, right, the plot is bad and terrible, it makes no sense, like, it's just stupid. I really, like, don't care about anybody named Uchiha except for Sarada, like, it's just the truth. I don't care about this clan that came in way too late in Shippuden for me to have known them. I don't care about these clones. I don't care about the white Zets. I don't care about any of it. I don't care. Like, they just, it could not pull me in if it tried. They could get that little red fish hook and hook me by the chest and try to yank me in, and it would not work. Like, but that being said, there were moments of such visceral delight for me that were just these great character moments that I was genuinely shocked that they pulled off, because not only was there stuff with Boruto, but I think the other really excellent character moment was, for those two in particular, was when Naruto fucking sent a shadow clone to his daughter's birthday. I was so upset. Like, truly, and I mean, not to get too deep on main here, but, like, as a kid, I pretty much, like, raised myself. Like, I was very independent growing up. We had a lot of circumstances at home where my mom really wasn't around all that much for me. And I was kind of used to being sidelined, and I was kind of used to being the kid that nobody really pays attention to. But that being said, like, even now, my little brother is 12 years younger than me. And if my mom tries to, or my family, or my dad, or anybody tries to pull any of the kind of crap that they try to pull with me, like, I'm up in arms about it. It infuriates me. And so seeing this little girl who all she wanted, she made her brother promise that her dad would be there for her birthday. She was so scared of it because kids are so intuitive, and I think the intuitiveness of children is something that Himawari really captures really well. Mm-hmm. She's never played as like a dumb little kid. She's always played as just like a young girl who has her own priorities, just hangs out with her mom all day. But when Himawari was like, I want my dad on my birthday, and Boruto was like, he will be there. And then he shows up, and then it's a shadow clone. My heart shattered like that cake. It was just a splatter on the ground, and I was so upset.
Oh my god. I remember that, because I remember that part from watching it in 2017. I was like, I just now talking to you, I realized you didn't know that it was coming. Like, I cannot imagine the feeling, because when I saw that back in 2017, I was like, oh my god, Naruto, I can't believe you did this. What is wrong with you? Like, it is... And it completely makes sense the way they set it up, right? Because they're like, Naruto doesn't come home very often. He's always busy with all his paperwork. And it is just such a good... Like, they set up the fact that, like, Boruto has this conversation with Hinata where he's like, how come dad doesn't come home? Well, the reason is because, like, his dad was gone. Grandpa Hokage was dead. So, like, he doesn't know how it is to, he's like, he doesn't know how it's supposed to be fun with your family. And, like, he's so mad, and he's, like, gonna go beat his dad up about it. And then when you just hear that pop, that you get with the shadow clones that you've been hearing for a decade now, and you're like, wait, no. And, like, it is so frustrating. It is so frustrating because you 100%, like, see why Naruto thought that would be a good idea. Because he's like, I just need, I'll get this over there, and then I'll be right over. And I mean, throughout the series, he is like sending his shadow clones to various places, and then he does this to his own little baby daughter, and it's so heartbreaking. And
I mean, he shows up in person in the beginning, and then like you see him go up in the office and linger, and you see Boruto find that open window, and I'm sitting there, and the like physical stress of knowing that he stood there and he made that decision to go back to the office. Because in my brain, like my story brain always tries to be kind of a step ahead of the narrative, and I was like, oh, Shikamaru's gonna show up and grab Naruto, and they have to leave, and it's gonna be a whole fight.
Yeah.
No, he made it worse.
He did it. He did the worst
lied.
thing.
Oh man, I was just I was so sad for that little girl. It absolutely drove me crazy. So yeah, they pull off these like amazing character moments in a show that is truly mediocre.
Yeah, it is astonishing the whiplash you get from like going to the extremely boring, like, what was the Uchiha arc, which does, and then, or like the boring tuning exams, or even the water, like the Land of Water sequence, which is fine, but like nothing really interesting.
Took too long.
It's just like it's too long, right? You could have cut that in half and had an interesting thing to say about like people who want to return to the old traditions and warmongering, but no, they're just like, let's talk about. There is a really good sequence in that where they do a thing about playing cards, which I thought was astonishing. But
again, really good character moments hidden in these like truly mediocre plot sequences. Like Kagura sitting there and playing cards and getting really into it as a kid for the first time made me feel something.
And my favorite part about that is like he's like playing, he keeps playing these like red cards because they're playing like Ninja Uno basically, and he's like, yes, I'm playing these red cards because my grandfather was a mass murderer, and this is just how I am. And then Boruto plays like a basically like a wild card, and he's like, no, you can actually not be a mass murderer. And then they start playing blue cards, and it's like, oh, I get it. I see what you're doing there. I can't believe you did it in a show like this, but you did, and I'm astonished.
Kagura's final fucking move is that sweep of 3 blue cards.
Mm-hmm.
It just, like, oh my god, it made me feel things. The whole sequence made me feel things, and then it went into the warmongering bullshit again, and I was like, I don't care. Like, I don't care about his teacher. I didn't care about is it the Mizukage for the Water Tribe? I don't care. I don't care. I just don't. I have no capacity in my chest to care. I care about that little boy playing cards with all his friends so much. And it is the most buck wild thing that they can write these beautiful character moments in a show that has no story, that could have been cut in half. I could have watched this in 30 episodes, and everything that had happened could have happened the same. Just 30 episodes, no more flashbacks, episode 64 or 65 or whatever the fuck it was.
No, yeah, you're right. Yeah, there was a flashback episode.
There's three flashback episodes, and one of them is like, I get it, like between arcs, like you do like a recap, whatever.
Yeah, sure.
Skip that one.
Yep.
And then there was like another one similar, skip that one, whatever. And then there was one where Naruto got kidnapped, and it was just Boruto flashing back to conversations that they had in full length, and I'm like, oh my god, I just watched this.
Yeah,
like
it's really
4
annoying.
episodes ago.
Really stupid. Yeah, it's just so astonishing the way that this show completely wastes its allotted time. And like, I get it, like a lot of animes just do that. They just pad out for, they need to have 1,000 episodes for whatever reason. And maybe you know more about that on the production side, but that is a trope of anime, of having filler, of having flashback or capsule episodes, of just stretch. I mean, even the original Naruto, like they would do like recap episodes, like the first 7 minutes of a new episode would be like the last 7 minutes of a previous episode, like unnecessarily stretching the show out for whatever reason. It's like, all right, guys, we get it.
I can only speculate to that just because that trope of having 1,000 episodes really only happens in like sitcom cartoons for us, like Family Guy.
Yeah.
And they're always like non-sequential, just long-running family comedies, whereas, when we talk about anime, we talk about more plot-based shit. My speculation would be they run out of manga.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I think that's just it. I think that it's not Kishimoto that writes Boruto. But, when Naruto was airing, you have to kind of,
well, that's the reason that after Naruto and Sasuke have their big fight, there's still 300 episodes of Naruto, like, and filler, like, doesn't mean anything. It's, like, really dumb.
Well, that's what happened with Inuyasha, too. Like, they ran out of manga, and then, God bless that production staff, they were like, fuck it, we're going on hiatus.
Yeah.
And then they gave me a season that slapped so hard my head went around like an owl's. But I love that fucking show. If your first... I think the thing that hit me, this can actually lead into my next point, and then we can glide right the fuck into my favorite section, which is the good, the bad, and the cho-cho, because we need to talk about these kids.
Yes, please.
But real quick, yesterday I was thinking, and Baby's first anime, as we've defined it, in being like the first kind of big property that you get into outside of things that most people don't even really consider anime, really colors the lens with which you view the world. So when I watched Boruto, I was like, I feel like I know Aaron better as a person now. Like, I feel like I get more of how he sees the world and solves problems watching this show. Because if you look, my baby's first anime was Inuyasha, and if you watch Inuyasha, you're like, oh, I get why she turned out like this. Like, it's very eye-opening that the shows that stick with you really paint your lens a certain color. And I don't know if the problem-solving skills of these children can be applied to any of the things that we're facing now, but we need to talk about them, because I would die for Sarada. I would die for her. I would lay down on train tracks and I would die for her.
Sarada Uchiha is probably, like, almost certainly the best character in this show, objectively. I mean, she's certainly my personal favorite, but there's so much that's going on with Sarada, just besides the fact that she's super funny and, like, hyper competent, and also, like, is a complete inversion of, like, the Naruto Sasuke dynamic. The way that she and her Boruto have that switch is so good.
Yes. And when they do that stupid thing that they did in Naruto, where, like, Naruto accidentally kissed Sasuke when they were about to repeat it, and she has her foot to his face, I was like, yes, this is what I've always craved in my entire existence. I love her so much. I love when her glasses do that anime shit and she terrifies her peers. I love when she's super competent. I love when she hangs out with her mom. I was so afraid that they were going to do that thing where, like, Boruto was going to be Sasuke's student and then she was going to get super jealous, but she is so chill about it. She is so cool. She's like, hey dad, are you done teaching my dumbass friend? Because I would really like to practice my fire jutsu with you while you're still in town, because I'm so competent and so cool and such a bad bitch of a daughter that you have that I no longer care if you're gone forever.
Yeah, I mean, the last time I met you, you pulled a sword on me, so I actually think I'm good. I don't need a dad, but, you know, if you want to teach me your weird Sharingan shit, that's fine, I guess.
I'm going to admire Naruto Uzumaki, and I'm going to become Hokage in his footsteps. The visceral joy it brings me that Naruto has the coolest kid in the world looking up to him is indescribable. It is truly, it fills me with such delight that she looks up to him more than anybody else.
I mean, I love that too, because like the whole of the original series is like showing how Naruto's a loser and like he has to work incredibly hard for everything, and like everybody still kind of makes fun of him because he's a dumbass. And then we get this shift, and then there's a new generation of people who are like, oh yeah, Naruto is like that incredibly powerful dude who lives in the big house, and he's the coolest and tightest dude ever. Like there's that sequence when they're going to look for Sasuke with Sarada and Chocho. And Sarada's like, will you tell me about my dad? And Naruto's like, yeah, he was always smooth with the ladies, like me. And he was really good as an ninjutsu, like me. And it's so funny that Naruto is like has to like invent this narrative of him being hyper competent. Because when he's compared to like Sarada versus 13-year-old Naruto, Sarada would whoop his ass so badly, like it's not even funny.
She would have kicked his ass so hard, he would have time traveled all the way back to meet his own father and be like, hey, you know how you're about to fucking make me? Don't.
Don't.
Just
it's not worth it.
Save me the fucking grief. This little 13-year-old's gonna kick my ass so hard. Please don't do it.
Oh, Sarada is such a good character. Good. I love her so much. She's got all the like spunkiness of Sakura that we didn't get enough of. And also, like, the hyper-competence and like, skill of Sasuke, which people thought was cool. And just the way that they invert the Naruto-Sasuke dynamic before Sarada and Boruto is incredible. It's
that
great.
Fucking moment, episode 67, their little exchange when she's like, are you sure you don't want to be Hokage? And he's just like, no, but I'm going to be your right-hand man and protect you. And she loses her fucking mind. I'm just gleeful. Like, it truly, like we talked about, there's no plot, the show mediocre overall, but these character moments like bring such a joyful shine out of me. I felt something deep inside when beautiful, hyper competent, perfect baby girl Sarada lost it and was just standing there and had no idea what to say. I was like, my baby, I love you so much, and this is the first time I have supported heterosexuality in an anime in about 40 years. Like, I love this so much. It fills me with joy. I literally sat there, I'm like, do I keep watching this show just for them? And then I'm like, no, but I will look up episode summaries and watch the ones about
I think that might have to be the route I go to, too, because, like, I can't do another 60 episodes of garbage, but, like, I want to know what happens to Sarada because she rules.
Yeah, she rules so fucking hard. Speaking of supporting homosexuality in anime, can we talk about Denki and Iwabe, please?
So as our resident queer person, you're gonna have to walk me through that because I just saw them as you know, I understand why after you mentioned it, but like you know, I didn't see that the first time around.
Dude, it's so fine because I just have a radar for this now. I've developed it as like a born again queer person. Oh my god, it was truly, there's just moments where Iwabe will like put his arm around Denki or something, and I was sitting there, I'm like, are they trying to like paint me into a corner here? Like I can't really tell what's happening because they never have like a female love interest or like a crush arc, which is common in like anime about teens. Mm-hmm. And then they have that whole entire filler episode where Denki accidentally insults Iwabe about being a repeater, and then they have to learn from each other, and they dive into a burning building for one another, and I'm like, this is amazing. What are these tiny homosexuals doing on my screen? And there's one particular moment. I didn't write any of this down on my notes because I stopped taking notes after episode 10 because it was just a lot of me screaming about how much I fucking hate Sasuke, which we will get to.
Yeah, no, that's
but so I was like,
hour, but
Yeah, that expounded too much energy for me, so I was like, let's just stop
fine.
taking notes and just really, really feel it. But in that episode, they just have these like really nice moments of like really understanding how the other works and like just taking so much time and attention to be with one another that I was like, this is fucking adorable. And the same thing happens with Shikadai and that kid from the Owl.
Oh yeah, the Byakuya gang. I was like, oh, they're in love. They play
also
chess.
tiny homosexuals.
Yeah, no, that one was definitely a romance.
Yeah, thank you for acknowledging the tiny homosexuals in the show. I support them very much, and I love them. Do you have a child to talk about? Because I want to finish with Chocho.
Yes, we definitely have to talk about Chocho. I think, I think all of these characters are great. Mitsuki in particular is one of my favorites. He's such a
Can we talk about Mitsuki in a party hat?
That was, I like kind of like did a squeal when I saw him at Boruto's birthday in the party hat. I was like, excuse me, sir, what are you doing here, my sweet son?
Mitsuki in a party hat, it just fills me with so much joy. So good.
I do actually want to talk about the class rep though. I don't remember her name because they don't give her any time beyond that first arc, but I think class rep is actually a really good, despite the fact that the narrative arc that she's in is nothing. I think they do a really nice job of characterizing her and like making her be like one of the people who is involved in the class. And then there's just a moment like when it's revealed that she's like the villain in that arc and like she's gonna explode the whole village or whatever. And then like Boruto like gets down in the hole with her because she's like, no, I'm gonna die here now. And he's like, no, I'm never going to leave a classmate behind. I was like, oh my God, I love that. And I love her. And I love the furry, like her team is like the furry ninja and the crying ninja. And they're great.
One of them is literally named Wasabi.
Yeah, Wasabi. She's the furry ninja. She rules.
I think the furry one is, she's dope as hell.
They do. Naruto is so good because it usually does do justice to its very large cast of characters. At least every character does get at least one like kind of great moment where it's like, hey, this is what I'm about, I'm cool. Does it do, Boruto has the same problem of the original series where it just completely disrespects its female characters by giving them not enough time to do anything, but regardless, I still think it's great. In that spirit, let's talk about Chocho, what's her Akamichi.
Oh, Chocho. Oh, I love Chocho so fucking much. Chocho is funny. Mm-hmm. Chocho is charming.
She's wise too. Like she has moments of incredible insight in a lot of these episodes.
Wise. Chocho. Oh my! I'm literally crying thinking about this. It was the funniest arc in the fucking. So I think that the joy of both Boruto and Naruto is extremely funny things happening at the same time as extremely serious things. Mm-hmm. So when her and Sarada go with Naruto to look for Sasuke, and Chocho is like, Choji is not my real dad. I'm going to find my real dad. Mm-hmm. And she takes everyone's hands and puts them on her forehead to see if it feels like the man she thinks is her dad, who is Choji, but like...
And Naruto's like, hey, did you lose your dad? Like, I know where Choji is.
Okay. I can show you where Choji is. Oh my god, when she puts Sasuke's hand on her forehead, I lost my mind. It was the perfect character moment for all of them because it shows you how Sasuke reacts now in this new reality, which was just shockingly mild. And it shows you how Chocho had no fear.
Yeah, she's like, whatever. I don't care if you're the most dangerous ninja in the world. Like, are you my dad though? I guess not.
Are you my dad though? Because you're kind of hot and I want you to be my dad so bad. It makes me so gleeful and she's so fucking funny. And her fascination with like chips as a character trait, it makes me just absolutely delighted because she's so into this like niche of fun flavored chips. Mm-hmm. If I hear one more fucking time out of this little girl's mouth that she wants to lose weight, or mm-hmm. her friends call her crazy because she's chubby and she keeps calling herself hot, mm-hmm. or her being referred to as chubs, or having to justify that she moves slower because she's not even that big, she's a little bigger mm-hmm. than her classmates, I will lose my fucking mind. And not to mention, I got so mad after during the Chunin exams, I think after the Genin exams, when they all got their cute little new outfits. Mm-hmm. She now wears lip gloss because chubby girls can't be feminine if they're not wearing fucking makeup. Oh my God. It makes me so angry. I feel just a distinct rage every time I see it because I am not a thin person, so I've dealt with this personally for my entire life, and you struggle a lot as not a thin woman with your relationship to femininity, and there's a whole trope of fat women overperforming the act of being feminine for the comfort of audiences and other people, and it's happening, and it drives me crazy, because I, literally that moment where Inojin had to draw from life because Sai was just trying to get on his ass about it, and Chocho volunteered to model, and she was like, "Are you stunned by my charm?" I was like, "Yes, thank you."
Yeah.
When class rep had that stalker, and somehow Chocho's really wise talk ended with, if you put your shit together, you could be a good man for me.
Yeah.
And all the other people around her were like, "When did this turn to you?" Iconic. I love her. The narrative needs to stop treating her. It's not the same when you make chubby jokes about a boy character as it is when you make chubby jokes about a girl character. That inherent fact is bad, but we also need to be extremely conscious of the way we talk about chubby girls in media, and the way Boruto does it is not it, even though they are close to having the perfect chubby character.
Yep. The fatphobia is rampant, and that I'm so glad that you talked about it. Especially in the context of the difference between men and women, right? They did the same dumb shit in Naruto with Choji. His character is that he's a little bit larger and he uses that for his magic. Okay, sure. It is especially pernicious that they take that same narrative and apply it to presumably a 13-year-old girl. It's really bad, and it sucks. There's no justifying it, and it sucks especially because Chocho is such a good character, and she kicks so much ass and is so confident in herself, and the narrative kind of treats her as a joke, and that blows, and it is. Listen, Boruto has a lot of places you can criticize it, but I would say that's probably the biggest, even aside from the dumb story shit, the way that they treat Chocho, who is a genuinely good and awesome character, sucks shit.
Yeah, sucks shit. And then I think if we're going to talk about the pernicious way this show treats women, we really can't not mention, and I'm surprised it hasn't come up yet, all the women are housewives? All of them.
I don't... Okay, so they are not housewives in name, they are housewives in fact. So there are a couple episodes where they show Sakura working in the hospital. It does take them until episode 19 to let her speak, but they do show her in various scenes. Tamari, it's said that there's one arc in the Byakuya gang where she is out chasing people because they pulled all the Jonins. There's really no excuse for them having these women ninja who are extremely competent and powerful, just sit at home all day. It really sucks. And
Hinata literally, it's such a bummer, and Hinata literally has a hereditary oh my god, what is it called? Kekkei Genkai?
Kekkei Genkai, yeah. No,
she has oh man, I'm so good at this shit.
Yeah, you crushed it. No,
Thanks.
She even addresses that. She's back in my day, it was expected that all Hyuga would become ninja. Now, that's okay for you, Boruto, if you don't want to be a ninja. But, back when we were still having wars and shit, because of my magic eye powers, I was trained to fight and kill.
By her shitty, abusive dad who's just a cool grandpa now?
Yeah, the way they retcon her dad is wild. They're oh, he's a nice grandpa. Are we gonna forget that he definitely kept Neji and Neji's dad a mind slave? We gonna forget that part?
I think if we're gonna talk about, we've talked about the children. We love the children. They're all perfect. Mm-hmm. We haven't even touched on Inojin, my perfect little sweet baby. I love him so much. Shikadai, who I would kill and also die for, who just wants everybody to fuck off so he can play his board games. I love the babies. They're great. However, I do, and this can just be a sentence in and of itself, I do take major issue with the fact that they built out these children and they built out kind of like Naruto being Hokage. Mm-hmm. And then they looked at all these empty slots of adults that they needed to fill, and they filled them in the most sloppy way humanly possible. And that irritates me greatly, and it is one of the biggest character flaws of this show that otherwise presents maybe the best characters on television, like, now.
Yeah. It's hard. One thing I did want to mention about Chocho, which is also very unfortunate, is that I mean, Naruto and a lot of anime do not portray people of color basically at all. I think in Boruto it is Chocho, and I think Iwabe is a person of color. He is colored a little bit darker skin than the rest of them. Chocho is a canonically mixed race character, and as I think people who have mixed backgrounds, like that speaks to me. Like I love that they made Choji have a relationship with somebody who's non-Japanese. That rules, and everything else about the way that they treat Chocho sucks. Did want to get that in there.
Chocho herself absolutely rules.
Yeah.
Chocho herself, great. The way narrative treats Chocho, fucking shit.
Yeah. Is it time?
Speaking of shit.
It's time.
Oh, man.
I need to write a jingle because this is the time where we play our special music and we talk about the way that Sasuke Uchiha is the worst imaginable person.
Oh my fucking god. I didn't like him in the OG. I didn't like him in Shippuden. I hated him in this so viscerally and so much. Mostly because I love his daughter and he pulled a fucking sword on her.
Yeah, so to set it up, so Sasuke is like the foil to Naruto and the whole franchise. In Boruto, he's like we said, he's like Naruto's right-hand man, with his special time-traveling powers. And he like goes around the world fighting dumb plot monsters for no reason. And it said like, oh, he hasn't been home in, I guess, 15 years or some shit. So when he does, when Naruto's like, oh, hey, Sarada, I guess you haven't seen your dad in a while. Do you want to like come talk to him? Like she goes in a tower while Naruto hangs out with Chocho. And Sasuke's like, oh, you must be one of the bad plot people who has a Sharingan for no reason. How did you find me? And he draws a sword on her, and she's like, excuse me? Hey, Dad? Do you remember you have a child, right? You know that? And he doesn't.
And
he does not.
he fucking plumb forgot about his perfect baby. And it truly baffles the mind because anime in and of itself has like a really weird relationship with time. And how things seem to happen, things that should be happening over the span of 3 years seem to take 2 days, and things that time skips are these like strange time periods that things don't change enough but also too much. And it feels like sometimes the writing staff doesn't have a concept of how long a year is in a human life. So you get 15 years sounds about right? Yeah, we want these kids to be 13. Yeah, that's fine. 15 years. So we'll fucking shoehorn everything else in. Like, that's what it feels like sometimes. And it's not just Boruto and Naruto that do this. It's just like anime as like a institution has this issue. So 15 years have passed, and the show later reveals that Sasuke didn't even go home to tell his family goodbye, just deuced, and that's it. No goodbyes, no letter, no note, no nothing. It was up to Naruto, who is comparably a fucking angel, to go to Sakura with a baby and be like, hey, about your shitty husband. He has to go kill some plot monsters for 15 years. Are you cool with that? And Sakura, for some fucking unknowable reason, is totally chill.
It's really incredibly stupid. And the thing is that the narrative knows that it's bad, right? There's a whole thing about how Sarada is extremely mad that her dad hasn't come home, justifiably so. And there's a point, right, where she's running to this tower to go meet her dad for the first time, and that is the first time in the narrative her Sharingan turns on. And in Naruto lore, only a couple Uchiha can actually get the Sharingan, and when they get it, it is because of emotional trauma. Sarada is so upset that her dad has been robbed from her that she gets her magic super eye, and it's like, I can't. Sasuke, you are the world's worst villain, and I can't. He sucks so bad.
I hate him so fucking much.
He never redeems himself.
No, never, not once. And here's this fucking, the other fun, flip, sexy side to this whole entire Sasuke and Sarada bullshit angle. Oh my god, it makes me so angry. When Sakura goes on her little vacation and leaves Sarada alone in that one filler episode, she's like, hey, do you want me to bring anything back for you? And Sarada, without fucking blinking, just goes, a dad. I lost it, because clearly she wants to, like, know about him. She clearly wants to, like, talk to somebody about him. She clearly wants to just, like, know anything about where he's at, what he's up to. Like, he is clearly such a... And I mean, okay, so as somebody who grew up verifiably, like, without a father, I saw a picture of me and my dad. I haven't seen him in 20 years-ish. 20 years next year. I saw a picture of me and my dad, and I went upstairs with the picture in my hand, and I showed it to my mom, and I went, who is this man whose lap I'm sitting on? Like, I had no fucking clue who he was, because my mom just, like, doesn't talk about him with good reason. Clearly, Sakura talks about this motherfucker so much that he's so ever present in this little girl's life that she thinks about him constantly. That a little thing of, like, hey, what do you want me to bring back from your trip, ends up in, like, hey, a father, where the fuck is he? And you know what? With good fucking reason. And then the first time she sees him, he pulls a sword on her and almost stabs him, and she starts crying and yells papa at him. And my heart broke. And she had every fucking right to be angry at him. And I think she should have been angry for longer. But instead she was like, you know what? My real dad is Naruto now. Because who comforted her when she thought, which that never got resolved, by the way, that she thought Sakura wasn't her real mom. Never got factually resolved. Like, she thought Sakura wasn't her real mom, and she was, like, wondering what the fuck was going on, and Sasuke was just like, it's none of your business, when it absolutely fucking is. And Naruto's the one that held her down, was like, you cannot react the way you are reacting right now. And the reason it's my business is because the entire village is my family. And in that moment, that little girl was like, this is my dad.
Exactly. Like, Naruto is a bad father to his own family, but, like, he does right by Sarada, and that completely justifies her devotion to him.
Yes. Instead, genetically, she has to be saddled with a man who looks like he dumped a bunch of fucking oil on a Hot Topic model back in 2007. What the fuck is that look, Sasuke? Get your fucking hair out of your face. I hate him. I hate his stupid cape. I hate the fact that he just looks like a damp version of a rejected mid-2000s Buffalo emo band who could only play at fucking Mohawk Place. I literally cannot stand his shitty cape and the fact he never takes his fucking arms out of it because it's too much effort to show his one remaining hand to literally anybody, and he's too cool and aloof to, like, expose a limb because it would make him vulnerable. I truly cannot stand his shitty hairstyle. Like, or the fact that it's apparently a cool dramatic reveal for his hair to, like, swoop out of his face so we can see he has two magic eyes that are different and one can take him through time. I don't care. Go back in time to when you were a less shitty person and be like, hey man, everything you're doing now, don't.
Yeah, I thought Naruto destroyed Sasuke at the end of Shippuden, but clearly he's never met you.
Dude, I hate him so fucking much, dude. Deadbeat dads are my fucking biggest pet peeve, and he is the deadest beatest of the dads, because he literally deuces for 15 years, and he thinks he has any right to talk to his perfect daughter, and during the Chunin exams was like, oh, yeah, I'm not gonna go say anything to Sarada. This is how bad of a dad he is. This character moment illustrates how much of a terrible fucking father he is. Literally, shows up in Naruto's office, and Naruto's like, hey, Sarada, like, won. Do you want to go maybe say, congrats, kid, to your daughter you barely know? And he was like, I don't need to say anything to her because I knew she would win, and leaves. And he is such a bad dad that Naruto went in person to his son and was like, hey, good job today. This is important. And I was reminded of that fact by the fact that Sasuke didn't think so.
Yeah, I have a long and complicated history with this man, Boruto. But my ex-boyfriend did remind me how to be a good father, and that's something that at least he's good for that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's talk about baby homosexuals. Like the entire beginning of Naruto. I'm like, why is Sakura here? You won't let her do or say anything except for pine over Sasuke, who objectively sucks. Every time, first of all, again, the little girls in this show are treated like shit, but I will commend. They are thirsty for the right people. All of them are thirsty for like older dudes. Like they don't give a shit about their classmates. Mm-hmm. Every time like a hot new teacher or Sasuke or like an older kid show up, they are thirsty. They are there. They are ready. They are looking for men, not boys. And I admired that little girl's aim high. Like it drives me absolutely crazy that Sasuke, who looks like a wet schnauzer on a good day, is everyone. He shows up. He shows up and like everyone's like, oh my god, have you seen Sasuke? He's like so hot. He's like so attractive. He's literally like the most powerful ninja next to like Naruto. And we never acknowledged that Naruto had a glow up, but like, oh my god, Sasuke, who looks like an oil slick's wet dream, absolutely just
he's already dead.
Fuck up. I hate him. I can't. So he truly just, and I mean, like, not to shit on the character designers who are responsible for the shitty fictional person. If a good character looked like that, I would be making excuses for him all day. But the fact is that the personality is so fucking rotten. It has magnetized his hair and his cape and his entire fucking aura flat. So fuck Sasuke Uchiha is what I'm trying to say. The only Uchiha who's worth anything is Sarada, who I will root for till I die.
Yeah, that really sums it up. I mean, he doesn't even, when he leaves, he doesn't even, like, he gives Sarada the forehead tap, which, the forehead tap is bad for a lot of reasons, not the worst of which is the fact that it is inherited from his older brother who murdered his whole family. And I mean, apparently
but he was good in the end.
Yeah, I don't care about that. He did murder his whole family. Like, he also, like, Sasuke, you haven't earned that. You don't get to, you're barely Sarada's dad at this point. You don't get to do the forehead tap.
And it is so embarrassing when Sakura, like, all she wants is the forehead tap. Mm-hmm. It truly, kiss your wife, you coward. You like coward. Kiss your wife.
He never shows affection to Sakura in the entire 66 episodes that we were watching. And like she literally
not once.
She literally passes out when he comes home early once. She's like, "Oh, my husband actually came home for once. I'm going to pass out now because it is so out of my reality." Yeah.
That my husband is fucking home. And it like, acknowledging that you know the women in your life are powerful is not the same thing as caring about them. Like, he says the same thing when she gets kidnapped. He's like, oh, I know my wife. She's strong. And, like, yeah, does Sakura get, like, a dope battle sequence that slapped? Yes. But also, saying, hey, I know these people can take care of themselves is not the same thing as showing that you love them. You absolute trash. So, yeah, he's objectively the worst character in his entire thing, and I do wish the narrative would drop him, but, like, that's not happening, so.
Yeah. Whew.
Yeah. Whew, man, I feel like I'm adrenaline, I'm sweating. But I think do you have any more thoughts? I know you desired some therapy. Do you have anything else to share?
I mean, like, I have like 8 pages of notes, but I don't know. A lot of them are just like, okay, who fucked the shark man?
Oh, truly though, who fucked Rock Lee?
Oh no, Layla, I regret to inform you that Metal Lee does not have a canonical mother. I looked this up.
Okay, that's fine. Oh, we did also not mention Metal. Let's just blow a kiss for Metal Lee, because the way to make me like Rock Lee more is just to give him anxiety and call him Metal, and they did that, so.
Yeah, Metal rules. I love him. So there's that guy who's basically Gaara, but with like iron sand, right? Did you, he has the same makeup as Kankuro. Are they, like, kind of implying that Gaara and Kankuro, like, adopted this kid? I just felt like that's a weird choice to have like this kid be Gaara's like adopted son, but also give him Kangaro's makeup.
Yeah, I thought that was real strange. I also am not a fan of what they did with Gaara in the show. He also looks very slippery.
Yeah, he looks like he's made of oil.
Yeah, not a fan of the Johnson and Johnson baby oil treatment of these grown-ups in this show. Yeah, I thought it was an odd choice, and I think it is implied a little bit that this is some sort of co-parenting effort. But that being said, we have seen that, you know, shonen can be so lightly homophobic that they will insert an entire female character and give her no arc just to say no homo really loud.
Just for to create a series 10 years later where the parent treats her terribly, but at least they're still straight.
Oh, yeah, it's fucking exhausting, man. Though, shouts to Orochimaru never being referred to as a dad.
Yeah, no, it's always my parent.
Yeah, shouts.
And then, you know, later it is Orochimaru does say he's like, it doesn't matter if I'm your father or your mother. So like that rules. Orochimaru is actually one of the more likable characters, adult characters in this show.
Which is wild.
I mean, in fairness, Orochimaru's whole thing was like, Sasuke has a great body and nothing else, and that's why I want it. And like, you know what? I get it. After this part, I think Orochimaru is a little redeemed. Orochimaru was right.
He gave us Mitsuki, and then Hinata gave us Mitsuki in a party hat. So objectively, those are the adult winners.
Yep.
In Boruto, Naruto, The Next Generation.
We want to do recommendations, like what we're going to recommend.
Oh, we're going to do that first?
Yeah.
So you actually should have probably already gotten it in your email.
Yeah, I did.
I would like for you to read Stargazing by Jen Wang, which is a coming of age graphic novel about some cultural differences, and it's just very sweet and very nice. If you want to do extra podcast homework, either The Prince and the Dressmaker by also Jen Wang or On a Sunbeam by Tilly Walden. But just Stargazing as the sort of base of our discussion for next time. I wanted to do not an anime because this is not necessarily an anime podcast.
I mean, it could be, but I agree. Maybe we should move a little bit away from Japanese cartoons.
Yeah, for now. We'll be back. I have one up my sleeve. I have 2 anime up my sleeve for you that I will reveal eventually, but I wanted to stray.
Right. Yeah. Where can people find you, Layla?
So I'm at Leylses, Leylses, on every major social media platform, and I write a fantasy webcomic called Astral Heart about what we owe to those who came before and coping with family trauma, and also it's a romance and everyone is hot and gay, so...
Yeah, Astral Heart rules. You should all check it out. You can find me at Aaron SXL on Twitter, and then at Aaron S on YouTube. And I'm just talking about coronavirus and anime at this point, so nothing's changed really.
So, Aaron, my final question for you is, what's your ninja way?
I saw that this question was on the outline, and I thought about it a lot last night. And the first thing that came to mind was that line from Kingdom Hearts where Sora says that his friends are his power. And I think that's my ninja way, is that with my friends beside me, any goal can be achievable. And I will do whatever I can to protect those that I consider my family. That's my ninja way. Do you have a ninja that you'd like to say on this podcast?
Do I have a ninja? Oh my god! I did not think anything of it because I didn't think you were going to reverse the question on me. I think my ninja would be whatever the fuck kind of chaotic good, but mostly chaotic energy Donald Duck brings to Kingdom Hearts. We try to heal, we do our best, we're a little loud about it, but it doesn't always work out, and I think that's my ninja way.
Sometimes you just have to Zeta flare and burn the whole world down.
We made it all up, man. That's all it is. All well, right. That's Friendship Simulator.
All right. Well, I hope that the 20 people watching this have a good week. Stay safe out there, and we'll get back to you once I finish this new recommendation.
Fuck yeah, we'll do it. Bye, everybody.
Bye.